All right, so on Module 6, Day 9 and 10, we talked about solving for solutions. Another way of solving for solutions is also solving for zeros. All that means is we're going to be solving for our x value. So let's take a look at this problem. So I have my set of my parentheses. I have x minus 7, 4x plus 12, and then x plus 2. I'm going to be setting these parentheses. I'm going to grab the first one, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. So x minus 0. And then I'm just going to solve. How do I get x by itself? Well, I usually need to do the inverse operations. I see a negative 7 right next to it. The inverse operation of negative 7 is a positive 7. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. That eliminates, and I'm left with x is equal to a positive 7. Now I'm going to be looking at the next set of parentheses. My next set of parentheses is 4x plus 12. I'm going to do, once again, I'm going to set that parentheses equal to 0, and I'm going to be solving for x. So I don't want to do anything to this 4x just yet, so I need to go over to my constant. It is a positive 12. The inverse operation of a positive 12 is a negative 12. This eliminates, I'm left with 4x. I have 0 and a negative 12. That is just going to turn into a negative 12. I still need to get x by itself, so I need to do the inverse operation. I know they're multiplying, so the inverse operation is to divide, and I'm left with x is equal to negative 12 divided by 4 does give me a negative 3. And then lastly, I want to grab my last set of parentheses, which is x plus 2. I want to set that one equal to 0. I'm going to solve for x. X is equal to a negative 2. At this moment, it told me to solve for my solutions. And remember, solutions, solving for solutions or solving for zeros means that I'm going to be solving for my x value. I did that. My last thing I need to do is to put it in a statement. So far, I have the solution is, and I want to list my x values from smallest to the largest number. My smallest number is this negative 3, so it's going to go first. And then it's this negative 2. And then it's this positive 7. I need to put them into curly brackets because that tells me that I just solved for x. So this is how I solve for solutions. They're not always going to be this simple because the last few days we have been factoring. So we are going to be factoring out my next problem. It says think aloud, and it wants me to solve for solutions of 3x squared minus 8x plus 4 is equal to 0. So in order for me to solve, I know I need to put them in factored form already. So I need to have my two binomials. I'm going to be labeling first A, B, and C. I already noticed my A value has a number greater than 1. So that means that I'm going to have to do an additional step besides my diamond method. I always start with my diamond method. My diamond method, I know A times C, not A times B. A times C will be on the top, and then my B value is going to be on the bottom. So my A value was 3, my C value is 4. If I were to multiply it, I know I'm going to get a positive 12 back. And then my B value is this negative 8. I want to know all the factors of 12. So I have the factors of 1, 12, 2, and 6. And lastly, 3 times 4 will give me 12. However, none of those when added together will give me negative 8. Do not forget that negative 1 and negative 12 also gives me a positive 12. So a negative 2 times a negative 6 will always give me a positive 12 if they were to multiply. and a -3 and a -4, when they were multiplied, would give me a positive 12 back. Now, from here, do I see anything added together that would give me a -8? Well, I see that -2 and -6, when they are added together, they would give me a -8 back. Remember, this is step 1 to do your area model. Your second step is to start factoring out to my two binomials. I'm going to be doing the grouping method on this one. So in order to do my grouping method, I'm going to grab my a value, which is 3x squared. And then I'm going to be grabbing my two factored forms of -6x and then this -2x. It does not matter where you put it, we're still going to be factoring the same. And then of course my last thing is my c value, which is this +4. We are going to be grouping, so I'm going to split them in half. So I have two terms on one and two terms in the next. We are not done yet when we split them in half. We need to find the greatest common factor. So I want to first take a look at 3x squared and then -6x. Well, I know automatically they're going to have x in common. That beginning should always have an x. And I want to find the greatest common factor of 3 and -6. If you can't do it right away, it's okay. Just do your factor trees. I just want to know what's the greatest common factor between 3 and 6. Well, I notice that they both have 3 in common, so I'm going to be factoring out a 3x from the first one. I am going to erase this up here so I can have room. All right. And then I'm going to be seeing what are going to be left inside the parentheses. I have 3, remember 3 divided by 3 would just give me 1x inside. And then my next step is, what is -6 divided by our outside number, which is 3, which will give me a -2 inside the parentheses. I am done with my first set of parentheses. My second, I now want to look at my second. I know this only works if my second set of parentheses are going to be the exact same thing. So I'm already going to put the exact same thing that I have in my parentheses once again, because that's the only way it works. In order to find out what number is going to be on the outside, since I already know what's going to be inside the parentheses, I'm just going to be working backwards. I'm going to grab that first number, which is a -2x, and I want to divide it by what's inside the parentheses. So what is -2 divided by 1? That is just going to give me a -2. That's another way of using this grouping method, is working backwards. I know I taught it a little differently in my last video, but this is another way you could also use it. Now I'm going to be finding my factored form. So I know one of my binomials is whatever's on the outside. So this 3x and this -2. My second set of parentheses is going to be what's inside the original parentheses of 1x minus 2. I now have two of my parentheses. Just like in my last think aloud, I'm going to be setting both of these equal to 0. And then in dark pink, I thought I was recording, I set the first set of parentheses equal to 0, and I got the solution of x is equal to 2/3. I want it as a fraction. I don't want a decimal. Since we're in algebra, we need fractions. And then I grabbed the second parentheses and I set it equal to 0. And I realized that x is equal to 2. So I can say my solutions are 2 over 3 and x is equal to 2. Right. So just as a reminder, when we are solving for solutions or solving for zeros, we did this for about 2 or 3 days, just doing these type of problems. All we did, the very first thing I did is did the diamond method. The second thing I needed to do is either use the area model backwards or grouping to get my next step, which is my binomial factor form. From there, I had set both of my binomials, my set of parentheses, equal to 0, and I got my solutions. At this moment, I want you to go to the next problem. I want you to put a pause on this and try to figure this one out on your own before I give you the answer. In my answer, I am going to be showing you the area model. You should still end up with the same answers as I do if you want to do it differently. But like I said, you could choose area model or you could choose grouping. It will still work. All right, at this moment, I'm going to be showing you the answers. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. I know this one was more, had a lot more factors. So the very first thing I did is I did my diamond method. I noticed that -3 and 8 were going to be my side numbers. I put them inside my area model and I factored out. As you can tell, my factored form was this 2x minus 3 and 1x plus 4. And then I set them equal to 0. So this is 1 and this is the other. I noticed that my answers were going to be x is equal to -4 and 3 over 2.